50 U.S.C. Chapter 53, Trading with the Enemy. From Title 50, War and National Defense. Chapter 53, Trading with the Enemy. Secretary. 4301. Designation of Chapter. 4302. Definitions. 4303. Acts prohibited. 4304. Licenses to enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance companies. Change of name. Doing business in United States. 4305. Suspension of provisions relating to ally of enemy. Regulation of transactions in foreign exchange of gold or silver, property transfers, vested interests, enforcement and penalties. 4306. Alien property custodian, general powers and duties. 4307. Lists of enemy or ally of enemy officers, directors, or stockholders of corporations in United States. Acts constituting trade with enemy prior to October 6, 1917. Conveyance of property to custodian, voluntary payment to custodian by holder. Acts under order, rule, or regulation. 4308. Contracts, mortgages, or pledges against or with enemy or ally of enemy. Abrogation of contracts. Suspension of limitations. 4309. Claims to property transferred to custodian, notice of claim, filing, return of property, suits to recover, sale of claimed property in time of war or during national emergency. 4310. Acts permitted, applications for patents, or registration of trademarks or copyrights, payment of tax in relation thereto, licenses under enemy-owned patent or copyright, statements by licensees, term and cancellation, suits against licensees, restraining infringements, powers of attorney, keeping secret inventions. 4311. Importations prohibited. 4312. Property transferred to alien property custodian. 4313. Statements by masters of vessels and owners of cargoes before granting clearances. 4314. False manifest, refusal of clearance, reports of gold or silver coin in cargoes for export. 4315. Offenses, punishment, forfeitures of property. 4316. Rules by district courts, appeals. 4317. Fees of agents, attorneys, or representatives. 4318. Claims of naturalized citizens as affected by expatriation. 4319. Fugitives from justice barred from recovery. 4320. Payment of income, etc., by alien property custodian. 4321. Payment of taxes and expenses by alien property custodian. 4322. Investments by custodian in participating certificates issued by Secretary of the Treasury, transfers to and payments from German, Austrian, or Hungarian special deposit accounts, allocation of payments. 4323. Allocation of unallocated interest fund. 4324. Return by custodian to United States of payments under licenses, assignments, or sales of patents. 4325. Unallocated interest fund defined. 4326. waiver by custodian of demand for property, acceptance of less amount, approval of Attorney General. 4327. Attachment or garnishment of funds or property held by custodian. 4328. Member of the former ruling family defined. 4329. Return of property. 4330. Notice of claim, institution of suits, computation of time. 4331. Payment of debts. 4332. Hearings on claims, rules and regulations, delegation of powers. 4333. Taxes. 4334. Insurance of property. 4335. Shipment of relief supplies, definitions. 4336. Retention of properties or interests of Germany and Japan and their nationals. Proceeds covered into Treasury, ex gratia payment to Switzerland. 4337. Intercustodial conflicts involving enemy property, authority of President to conclude, delegation of authority. 4338. Divestment of estates, trusts, insurance policies, annuities, remainders, pensions, workmen's compensation and veterans' benefits, exceptions, notice of divestment. 4339. Claims for proceeds from sale of certain certificates, jurisdiction, limitations, divestment of copyrights, copyrights, defined, rights of licensees and assignees, reproduction rights of United States, transfer of interests, payment of royalties to Attorney General, suits for infringement. 4340. Divestment of trademarks. 4341. Motion picture prints, transfer of title. Editorial notes. Codification. Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, comprising this chapter, was formally set out in the appendix to this title, prior to the elimination of the appendix to this title and the editorial reclassification of the Act as this chapter. For disposition of sections of the former appendix to this title, see Table 2, set out preceding Section 1 of this title. Statutory notes and related subsidiaries. Termination of World War and Emergency. Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, comprising this chapter, was expressly accepted from the operation and effective joint res. March 3, 1921, Chapter 136, 41 Stat 1359, declaring that certain acts of Congress, joint resolutions, and proclamations should be construed as though the World War had ended and the then present or existing emergency expired. Section 4301. Designation of Chapter. This chapter shall be known as the Trading with the Enemy 1 Act. October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, Section 1, 40 Stat 411. Editorial notes. References in text. This chapter, referred to in text, was in the original This Act, meaning Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, also known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, which is classified principally to this chapter. For complete classification of this act to the Code, see tables. Codification. Section was formally classified to Section 1 of the former appendix to this title prior to editorial reclassification and renumbering as this section. 1 So in original. Section 4302. Definitions. The word enemy, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean, for the purposes of such trading and of this chapter, a. Any individual, partnership, or other body of individuals, of any nationality, resident within the territory, including that occupied by the military and naval forces of any nation with which the United States is at war, or resident outside the United States and doing business within such territory, and any corporation incorporated within such territory of any nation with which the United States is at war, or incorporated within any country other than the United States and doing business within such territory. B. The government of any nation with which the United States is at war, or any political or municipal subdivision thereof, or any officer, official, agent, or agency thereof. C. Such other individuals, or body or class of individuals, as may be natives, citizens, or subjects of any nation with which the United States is at war, other than citizens of the United States, wherever resident, or wherever doing business, as the President, if he shall find the safety of the United States, or the successful prosecution of the war shall so require, may, by proclamation, include within the term enemy. The words ally of enemy, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean a. Any individual, partnership, or other body of individuals, of any nationality, resident within the territory, including that occupied by the military and naval forces of any nation which is an ally of a nation with which the United States is at war, or resident outside the United States and doing business within such territory, and any corporation incorporated within such territory of such ally nation, or incorporated within any country other than the United States and doing business within such territory. B. The government of any nation which is an ally of a nation with which the United States is at war, or any political or municipal subdivision of such ally nation, or any officer, official, agent, or agency thereof. C. Such other individuals, or body or class of individuals, as may be natives, citizens, or subjects of any nation which is an ally of a nation with which the United States is at war, other than citizens of the United States, wherever resident, or wherever doing business, as the President, if he shall find the safety of the United States, or the successful prosecution of the war shall so require, may, by proclamation, include within the term ally of enemy. The word person, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean an individual, partnership, association, company, or other unincorporated body of individuals, or corporation, or body politic. The words United States, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean all land and water, continental or insular, in any way within the jurisdiction of the United States, or occupied by the military or naval forces thereof. The words the beginning of the war, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean midnight ending the day on which Congress has declared or shall declare war, or the existence of a state of war. The words end of the war, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean the date of proclamation of exchange of ratifications of the Treaty of Peace, unless the President shall, by proclamation, declare a prior date, in which case the date so proclaimed shall be deemed to be the end of the war within the meaning of this chapter. The words bank or banks, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean and include national banks, state banks, trust companies, or other banks or banking associations doing business under the laws of the United States, or of any state of the United States. The words to trade, as used herein, shall be deemed to mean a. Pay, satisfy, compromise, or give security for the payment or satisfaction of any debt or obligation. B. Draw, accept, pay, present for acceptance or payment, or endorse any negotiable instrument, or chose in action. C. Enter into, carry on, complete, or perform any contract, agreement, or obligation. D. Buy or sell, loan or extend credit, trade in, deal with, exchange, transmit, transfer, assign, or otherwise dispose of, or receive any form of property. E. To have any form of business, or commercial communication, or intercourse with. October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, Section 2, 40 Stat 411. Editorial notes. References in text. This chapter, referred to in text, was in the original This Act, meaning Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, also known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, which is classified principally to this chapter. For complete classification of this act to the Code, see Section 4301 of this title and tables. Codification. Section was formerly classified to Section 2 of the former appendix to this title prior to editorial reclassification and renumbering as this section. Executive documents. World War I proclamations enumerating enemies. The following presidential proclamations, issued during World War I, declared the partnerships and persons enumerated therein to be enemies. Proc. February 5, 1918, 40 Stat 1745. Proc. May 31, 1918, 40 Stat 1786. Proc. August 10, 1918, 40 Stat 1833. Proc. August 14, 1918, 40 Stat 1837. Proc. November 29, 1918, 40 Stat 1899. Section 4303. Acts prohibited. It shall be unlawful. A. For any person in the United States, except with the license of the President, granted to such person, or to the enemy, or ally of enemy, as provided in this chapter, to trade, or attempt to trade, either directly or indirectly, with, to, or from, or for, or on account of, or on behalf of, or for the benefit of, any other person, with knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that such other person is an enemy, or A. For any person in the United States, except with the license of the President.
Except with the license of the President. So the President will give the enemy license to operate. Now, who is the enemy? Once upon a time, they must say, hey, it's the communists. But ask yourself this question at this point: who are being required to possess licenses to operate out here in the public arena? Isn't it the people? So isn't it safe to construe that the enemy this document is inferring to maybe the people, we the people, until the people choose to not subject themselves to the common citizenry and stand up as such, the people. So, step by step.
Granted to such person. A. For any person in the United States, except with the license of the President, granted to such person, or to the enemy, or ally of enemy, as provided in this chapter, to trade, or attempt to trade, either directly or indirectly, with, to, or from, or for, or on account of, or on behalf of, or for the benefit of, any other person, with knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that such other person is an enemy, or ally of enemy, or is conducting, or taking part in such trade, directly or indirectly, for, or on account of, or on behalf of, or for the benefit of, an enemy or ally of enemy. B. For any person, except with the license of the President, to transport, or attempt to transport into or from the United States, or for any owner, master, or other person in charge of a vessel of American registry to transport, or attempt to transport from any place to any other place, any subject or citizen of an enemy or ally of enemy nation, with knowledge or reasonable cause to believe that the person transported, or attempted to be transported, is such subject or citizen. C. For any person other than a person in the service of the United States government, or of the government of any nation, except that of an enemy or ally of enemy nation, and other than such persons or classes of persons as may be exempted hereunder by the President, or by such person as he may direct, to send, or take out of, or bring into, or attempt to send, or take out of, or bring into the United States, any letter, or other writing or tangible form of communication, except in the regular course of the mail, and it shall be unlawful for any person to send, take, or transmit, or attempt to send, take, or transmit out of the United States, any letter or other writing, book, map, plan, or other paper, picture, or any telegram, cablegram, or wireless message, or other form of communication intended for or to be delivered, directly or indirectly, to an enemy or ally of enemy, provided, however, that any person may send, take, or transmit out of the United States anything herein forbidden, if he shall first submit the same to the President, or to such officer as the President may direct, and shall obtain the license or consent of the President, under such rules and regulations, and with such exemptions, as shall be prescribed by the President. D. Whenever, during the present war, the President shall deem that the public safety demands it, he may cause to be censored under such rules and regulations as he may from time to time establish, communications by mail, cable, radio, or other means of transmission passing between the United States and any foreign country he may from time to time specify, or which may be carried by any vessel, or other means of transportation touching at any port, place, or territory of the United States, and bound to or from any foreign country. Any person who willfully evades, or attempts to evade the submission of any such communication to such censorship, or willfully uses, or attempts to use any code, or other device for the purpose of concealing from such censorship the intended meaning of such communication, shall be punished as provided in Section 4315 of this title. October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, Section 3, 40 Stat 412. Editorial notes. References in text. This chapter, referred to in subsec A, was in the original, this Act, meaning Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, also known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, which is classified principally to this chapter. For complete classification of this Act to the Code, see Section 4301 of this title and tables. Codification. Section was formerly classified to Section 3 of the former appendix to this title prior to editorial reclassification and renumbering as this section. Executive documents. Delegation of functions. President's powers under subsec A of this section delegated during World War II to Secretary of the Treasury by Memorandum of the President dated February 12, 1942, 7 FR 1409, and to Alien Property Custodian by XORD number 1995, March 11, 1942, 7 FR 1971. Office of World War II Alien Property Custodian terminated and powers, duties, and functions vested in, or transferred, or delegated to such office, or in the Alien Property Custodian transferred to Attorney General. See XORD number 9788. Set out under Section 4306 of this title. Section 4304. Licenses to enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance companies. Change of name. Doing business in United States. A. Every enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, and every enemy or ally of enemy doing business within the United States through an agency or branch office, or otherwise, may within 30 days after October 6, 1917, apply to the President for a license to continue to do business, and within 30 days after such application, the President may enter an order either granting or refusing to grant such license. The license, if granted, may be temporary or otherwise, and for such period of time, and may contain such provisions and conditions regulating the business, agencies, managers and trustees and the control and disposition of the funds of the company, or of such enemy or ally of enemy, as the President shall deem necessary for the safety of the United States, and any license granted hereunder may be revoked, or regranted, or renewed in such manner, and at such times as the President shall determine. Provided, however, that reasonable notice of his intent to refuse to grant a license, or to revoke a license granted to any reinsurance company shall be given by him to all insurance companies incorporated within the United States, and known to the President to be doing business with such reinsurance company. Provided further, that no insurance company, organized within the United States, shall be obligated to continue any existing contract, entered into prior to the beginning of the war, with any enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, but any such company may abrogate and cancel any such contract by serving 30 days' notice in writing upon the President of its election to abrogate such contract. For a period of 30 days after October 6, 1917, and further pending the entry of such order by the President, after application made by any enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, within such 30 days as above provided, the provisions of the President's proclamation of April 6, 1917, relative to agencies in the United States of certain insurance companies, as modified by the provisions of the President's proclamation of July 13, 1917, relative to marine and war risk insurance, shall remain in full force and effect so far as it applies to such German insurance companies, and the conditions of said proclamation of April 6, 1917, as modified by said proclamation of July 13, 1917, shall also during said period of 30 days after October 6, 1917, and pending the order of the President as herein provided, apply to any enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, anything in this chapter, to the contrary notwithstanding. It shall be unlawful for any enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, to whom license is granted, to transmit out of the United States any funds belonging to or held for the benefit of such company, or to use any such funds as the basis for the establishment directly or indirectly of any credit within or outside of the United States to, or for the benefit of, or on behalf of, or on account of, an enemy or ally of enemy, for a period of 30 days after October 6, 1917, and further pending the entry of such order by the President, after application made within such 30 days by any enemy or ally of enemy, other than an insurance or reinsurance company as above provided, it shall be lawful for such enemy or ally of enemy to continue to do business in this country, and for any person to trade with, to, from, for, on account of, on behalf of, or for the benefit of such enemy or ally of enemy, anything in this chapter to the contrary notwithstanding, provided, however, that the provisions of sections 4303 and 4315 of this title shall apply to any act or attempted act of transmission or transfer of money or other property out of the United States, and to the use or attempted use of such money or property as the basis for the establishment of any credit within or outside of the United States to, or for the benefit of, or on behalf of, or on account of, an enemy or ally of enemy. If no license is applied for within 30 days after October 6, 1917, or if a license shall be refused to any enemy or ally of enemy, whether insurance or reinsurance company, or other person making application, or if any license granted shall be revoked by the President, the provisions of sections 4303 and 4315 of this title shall forthwith apply to all trade, or to any attempt to trade with, to, from, for, by, on account of, or on behalf of, or for the benefit of such company or other person, provided, however, that after such refusal or revocation, anything in this chapter to the contrary notwithstanding, it shall be lawful for a policyholder or for an insurance company, not an enemy or ally of enemy, holding insurance, or having effected reinsurance in or with such enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company, to receive payment of, and for such enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company to pay any premium, return premium, claim, money, security, or other property due or which may become due on or in respect to such insurance or reinsurance in force at the date of such refusal or revocation of license, and nothing in this chapter shall vitiate or nullify then existing policies or contracts of insurance or reinsurance, or the conditions thereof. And any such policyholder or insurance company, not an enemy or ally of enemy, having any claim to or upon money or other property of the enemy or ally of enemy insurance or reinsurance company in the custody or control of the alien property custodian, hereinafter provided for, or of the Treasurer of the United States, may make application for the payment thereof and may institute suit as provided in Section 4309 of this title. B. During the present war, no enemy or ally of enemy, and no partnership of which he is a member, or was a member at the beginning of the war, shall for any purpose assume, or use any name other than that by which such enemy or partnership was ordinarily known at the beginning of the war, except under license from the President. Whenever, during the present war, in the opinion of the President the public safety or public interest requires, the President may prohibit any or all foreign insurance companies from doing business in the United States, or the President may license such company or companies to do business upon such terms as he may deem proper. October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, Section 4, 40 Stat 413. Editorial Notes. References in text. For Proclamation of April 6, 1917, 40 Stat 1654, and Proclamation of July 13, 1917, 40 Stat 1684, referred to in subsec. A. See World War I Presidential Proclamations notes below. This chapter, referred to in subsec. A, was in the original, this Act, meaning Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, also known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, which is classified principally to this chapter. For complete classification of this Act to the Code, see Section 4301 of this title and tables. Codification. Section was formerly classified to Section 4 of the former appendix to this title prior to editorial reclassification and renumbering as this section. Executive documents. Transfer of functions. Functions vested by law in Alien Property Custodian and Office of Alien Property Custodian transferred to Attorney General by reorg. Plan Number 1 of 1947, Section 101, F. July 1, 1947, 12 FR 4534, 61 Stat 951, set out in the appendix to Title 5, Government Organization and Employees. World War I Presidential Proclamations. Proc. April 16, 1917, 40 Stat 1654, declared and proclaimed that branch establishments of German insurance companies doing business in the United States would be authorized to continue to do so, subject to the rules and regulations of the state in which such establishment's principal office is located, but prohibited transmission of any funds outside of the United States, or the use of any funds for the establishment of any credit within or outside of the United States to or for the benefit or use of the enemy or any of its allies without the permission of the federal government. Proc. July 13, 1917, 40 Stat 1684, declared and proclaimed that branch establishments of German insurance companies doing business in the United States would be prohibited from transacting the business of marine and war risk insurance either as direct insurers or reinsurers, and directed that such prohibition would extend and operate to suspend all existing contracts for the period of the war. Section 4305. Suspension of provisions relating to ally of enemy, regulation of transactions in foreign exchange of gold or silver, property transfers, vested interests, enforcement and penalties. A. The President, if he shall find it compatible with the safety of the United States and with the successful prosecution of the war, may, by proclamation, suspend the provisions of this chapter so far as they apply to an ally of enemy, and he may revoke or renew such suspension from time to time, and the President may grant licenses, special or general, temporary or otherwise, and for such period of time, and containing such provisions and conditions as he shall prescribe, to any person or class of persons to do business as provided in subsection A of section 4304 of this title, and to perform any act made unlawful without such license in section 4303 of this title, and to file and prosecute applications under subsection B of section 4310 of this title. And he may revoke or renew such licenses from time to time, if he shall be of opinion that such grant or revocation or renewal shall be compatible with the safety of the United States and with the successful prosecution of the war, and he may make such rules and regulations, not inconsistent with law, as may be necessary and proper to carry out the provisions of this chapter, and the President may exercise any power or authority conferred by this chapter through such officer or officers as he shall direct. If the President shall have reasonable cause to believe that any act is about to be performed in violation of section 4303 of this title, he shall have authority to order the postponement of the performance of such act for a period not exceeding 90 days, pending investigation of the facts by him. B.1. During the time of war, the President may, through any agency that he may designate, and under such rules and regulations as he may prescribe, by means of instructions, licenses, or otherwise, A. Investigate, regulate, or prohibit any transactions in foreign exchange, transfers of credit or payments between, by, through, or to any banking institution, and the importing, exporting, hoarding, melting, or earmarking of gold or silver coin or bullion, currency or securities, and B. Investigate, regulate, direct and compel, nullify, void, prevent or prohibit any acquisition, holding, withholding, use, transfer, withdrawal, transportation, importation, or exportation of, or dealing in, or exercising any right, power, or privilege with respect to, or transactions involving any property in which any foreign country or a national thereof has any interest, by any person, or with respect to any property, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, and any property or interest of any foreign country or national thereof shall vest, when, as, and upon the terms directed by the President in such agency or person as may be designated from time to time by the President, and upon such terms and conditions as the President may prescribe, such interest or property shall be held, used, administered, liquidated, sold, or otherwise dealt with in the interest of and for the benefit of the United States, and such designated agency or person may perform any and all acts incident to the accomplishment or furtherance of these purposes. And the President shall, in the manner hereinabove provided, require any person to keep a full record of, and to furnish under oath, in the form of reports, or otherwise, complete information relative to any act or transaction referred to in this subdivision either before, during, or after the completion thereof, or relative to any interest in foreign property, or relative to any property in which any foreign country, or any national thereof has, or has had any interest, or as may be otherwise necessary to enforce the provisions of this subdivision, and in any case in which a report could be required, the President may, in the manner hereinabove provided, require the production, or if necessary to the national security or defense, the seizure of any books of account, records, contracts, letters, memoranda, or other papers, in the custody or control of such person. 2. Any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein, made to or for the account of the United States, or as otherwise directed, pursuant to this subdivision, or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder shall to the extent thereof be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligation of the person making the same, and no person shall be held liable in any court for, or in respect to anything done, or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of, or in pursuance of and in reliance on, this subdivision, or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder. 3. As used in this subdivision, the term United States means the United States and any place subject to the jurisdiction thereof, provided, however, that the foregoing shall not be construed as a limitation upon the power of the President, which is hereby conferred, to prescribe from time to time definitions not inconsistent with the purposes of this subdivision, for any or all of the terms used in this subdivision. As used in this subdivision, the term person means an individual, partnership, association, or corporation. 4. The authority granted to the President by this section does not include the authority to regulate or prohibit, directly or indirectly, the importation from any country, or the exportation to any country, whether commercial or otherwise, regardless of format or medium of transmission, of any information or informational materials, including but not limited to publications, films, posters, phonograph records, photographs, microfilms, microfiche, tapes, compact discs, CD-ROMs, artworks, and news wire feeds. The exports exempted from regulation or prohibition by this paragraph do not include those which are otherwise controlled for export under Section 46041 of this title, or under Section 46051 of this title, to the extent that such controls promote the non-proliferation or anti-terrorism policies of the United States, or with respect to which acts are prohibited by Chapter 37 of Title 18. October 6, 1917. Chapter 106, Section 5, 40 Stat 415. September 24, 1918. Chapter 176, Section 5, 40 Stat 966. March 9, 1933. Chapter 1, Section 2, 48 Stat 1. May 7, 1940. Chapter 185, Section 1, 54 Stat 179. December 18, 1941. Chapter 593, Title 3, Section 301, 55 Stat 839, Proc. Number 2695, F. July 4, 1946, 11 FR 7517, 60 Stat 1352, Public L. 95 to 223, Title I, Sections 101A, 102, 103B. December 28, 1977, 91 Stat 1625, 1626, Public L. 100 to 418, Title II, Section 2502A, 1, August 23, 1988, 102 Stat 1371, Public L. 103 to 236, Title V, Section 525B, 1, April 30th, 1994, 108 Stat. 474. Editorial notes. References in text. This chapter, referred to in subsec A, was in the original, this Act, meaning Act October 6, 1917, Chapter 106, 40 Stat 411, known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, also known as the Trading with the Enemy Act, which is classified principally to this chapter. For complete classification of this act to the Code, see Section 4301 of this title and tables. Sections 4604 and 4605 of this title, referred to in subsec B4, were repealed by Public L. 115 to 232, Division A, Title 17, Section 1766A, August 13, 2018, 132 Stat. 2232. Codification. Words, including the Philippine Islands, and the several courts of first instance of the Commonwealth of the Philippine Islands shall have jurisdiction, in all cases, civil or criminal, arising under this subdivision in the Philippine Islands and concurrent jurisdiction, with the district courts of the United States of all cases, civil or criminal, arising upon the high seas following, to the jurisdiction thereof, in subsec. B. 3, were omitted upon the authority of 1946 Proc. Number 2695, which granted the Philippine Islands independence, and which was issued pursuant to Section 1394 of Title 22, Foreign Relations and Intercourse. Proc. Number 2695 is set out as a note under Section 1394 of Title 22. Section was formerly classified to Section 5 of the former appendix to this title prior to editorial reclassification and renumbering as this section. Subsec. B was also formerly classified to Section 95A of Title 12, Banks and Banking, prior to its omission from the Code. Amendments. 1994, Subsec. B4. Public L. 103 to 236 amended paragraph. 4. Generally. Prior to amendment, paragraph 4 read as follows. The authority granted to the President in this subsection does not include the authority to regulate or prohibit, directly or indirectly, the importation from any country, or the exportation to any country, whether commercial or otherwise, of publications, films, posters, phonograph records, photographs, microfilms, microfiche, tapes, or other informational materials, which are not otherwise controlled for export under Section 4604 of this title, or with respect to which no acts are prohibited by Chapter 37 of Title 18. 1988, Subsec. B4. Public L. 100 to 418 added paragraph. 4. 1977, Subsec. B1. Public L. 95 to 223, Sections 101A, 102, substituted, during the time of war, the President may, through any agency that he may designate, and under such rules and regulations for during the time of war or during any other period of national emergency declared by the President may, through any agency that he may designate, or otherwise, and under such rules and regulations in provisions preceding subpar A and in provisions following subpar B, struck out, and the President may, in the manner hereinabove provided, take other and further measures not inconsistent herewith for the enforcement of this subdivision, after control of such person. Subsec. B3. Public L. 95 to 223, Section 103B, struck out provisions that whoever willfully violated any of the provisions of this subdivision, or of any license, order, rule, or regulation issued thereunder, could be fined not more than $10,000, or, if a natural person, could be imprisoned for not more than 10 years, or both, and that any officer, director, or agent of any corporation, who knowingly participated in that violation, could be punished by a like fine, imprisonment, or both. 1941, Subsec. B. Act December 18, 1941, considerably broadened the powers of the President to take, administer, control, use and liquidate foreign-owned property, and added a flexibility of control which enabled the President and the agencies designated by him to cope with the problems surrounding alien property, its ownership or control, on the basis of the particular facts in each case. 1940, Subsec. B. Act May 7, 1940, included dealings in evidences of indebtedness or ownership of property in which foreign states, nationals, or political subdivisions thereof have an interest. 1933, Subsec. B. Act March 9, 1933, among other things, extended President's power to any time of war, national emergency, permitted regulations to be issued by any agency designated by President, provided for furnishing under oath of complete information relative to transactions under the subsection, and placed sanctions on violations to the extent of a $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment. 1918, subsec. B. Act September 24, 1918, inserted provisions relating to hoarding or melting of gold or silver coin or bullion or currency, and to regulation of transactions in bonds or certificates of indebtedness. Statutory notes and related subsidiaries. Statutory note. Statutory 1933. 1940, subsec. 1941, subsec. B. Act December 18, 1941, considerably broadened the powers of the President to take, administer, control, use and liquidate foreign-owned property, and added a flexibility of control which enabled the President and the agencies designated by him to cope with the problems surrounding alien property, its ownership or control.
Surrounding alien property, its ownership or control on the basis of particular facts in each case. Who are the aliens? The non-citizen of the incorporated United States. Very interesting piece of document. This is why we present it here. For most of our people, when I have the time to sit down and read, so them can just play the tape and have access. And for the ones them when I read and write, them can listen and learn. And this is all in a legal context. They can only communicate legally. So we have to use the Bouvier's Law Dictionary, adapted by the Organic Constitution, so we can ascertain the meaning and the definition of the words being used here, opposed to somebody else that try to tell us that this is what it means and this is what it refers to and all of these things. Let's remove the outside influences, yeah man, and apply our senses through due diligence, study. That's all it is. There's no rush here. Yeah, man. We have an empire to govern over. And, we have the new generations who are going to come forward, but won't be able to be easily manipulated. And them are going to need, fear hear all a voice like this. And not look at the information presented that way. We can, you just grasp or gain some, understanding of what go on the legal level. Yeah, man.
On the basis of the particular facts in each case. 1940, subsec. B. Act May 7, 1940, included dealings in evidences of indebtedness or ownership of property in which foreign states, nationals, or political subdivisions thereof have an interest.
Hear that? Dealing in evidence of indebtedness or ownership of property in which foreign states, nationals, or political subdivisions thereof have an interest. As we go along, we touch base on all of them terms that are being used, legal terms.
Interest. 1933, subsec. B. Act March 9, 1933, among other things, extended President's power to any time of war, national emergency, permitted regulations to be issued by any agency designated by President, provided for furnishing under oath of complete information relative to transactions under the subsection, and placed sanctions on violations to the extent of a $10,000 fine or 10 years imprisonment.
Interesting. Act of March 9th, 1933. This is when they amended the Act of October 6th, 1917, which is a Trading with the Enemies Act. So in 1933, March 9, that's when they amend it and officially have the Banking Emergency Bank Act, which them write into law, which place everything in a negotiable state, where they remove substance and replace the substance with paper. And them thing I may try bring forward, and my people have to take them time, get up. Yeah, man, because them not have a clue about this level. And this is why I man can't run down way ahead for try prove, say, hey, I can't do this or I know all of these things. I can't do that. We have too much people at the tail end where clueless. Them not have a clue. Them don't know nothing about this level. Them don't know nothing about them birth right, which has been usurped. However, it's there in an abundant state. And it's being administrated for you, for your benefit. It's always for your benefit, making you the beneficiary, because your parent, your ancestors are the grantor, and the construct is a public trust with public trustees that are just our side of it. So when some people say we are the trustee, probably on the private side, because the legal person, not the natural person, the legal person, that piece of paper cannot do nothing on its own. It's just a piece of paper. So it's going to need on the private side, the private trustee, for lack of a better word, to initiate the movements of this legal person, what they might call a public trustee, which is all kind of thing. I call it a sophisticated financial instrument. So we have to go all the way forward for really see what it is. You know what I mean? In other words, we have to step back a little, go back in time, literally. And we can talk about the Libra codes from 1863 with Abraham Lincoln and make it clear. So the victorious army confiscate everything and sequester everything for its government. Who were they fighting against? What we have got to know is present the Indian wars in America. And we can show the timeline from when it started. And then you will see who all of these things really are talk about, because it go back right to the Civil Rights Act of 1866, when Abraham Lincoln make him proclamation in 1863, then in 1866, that's the first Civil Rights Act, where them address the people where them are oppressed, which is the black people, the original people of the Americas. You understand? And we around here, so we're there in the islands. Before the corporate construct division again, right here was a part of everything where they go on mainland America. Because the British is who govern everything. That British Empire. Until 1776, when the Americans, the New Englands, the foreigners, the very foreigners will come up and create their colonies, decide so they want to remove themselves from them colonial masters. It don't have nothing to do with us, people. Them just assimilate us, them thing, and educate us accordingly. So we have to look at it so we can re-engineer or reverse engineer what they socially engineered. We just have to reverse it. We just have to correct it. You know what I mean? And it's all on paper. We not forget get no master's degree for learn or going in a secret society where we come out with some big picture pose with one hand in our pocket. Like all a man like me, I got miss it. Because we have the ancient masters, we teach the ancient archaic sciences, where there's a whole plethora of knowledge there. But you have honorable man in a them kind of society there. And then you have the pawns, the little pawn them, the little minions, the little ones them where prop up themselves as if. You know what I mean? So you will see them have the pose and all of these things, such as them colonial masters. We will originate around here, so we have a more ancient, you'd say, function. Yeah. So we can sit through all of them vices and devices. And this is why I say a lot of agents out there, and they make you know plainly. You see them image. You understand? Because it means a lot to them. This is how them promote and advertise themselves to each other. Them have them secret code. You see them take a picture with them on in them pocket and them Freemasonic regala. But the common people miss it and say, whoa, you style that. A man like me, burn it. And so you're not even proper. And you can't be proper. Because the noble ones, them are philanthropists. In other words, them give away everything. What them say is, yo, you have to really be an initiate. Forget certain kind of knowledge. But the common ones, them run with the business part of it. And you see them salute each other. Because it's a network. Them support each other. Because it is their network. And it will come from the very same Moors of Spain at the elite, are them nobles, or corsairs. Yeah, man, that serpent seed out there. Reptilian seed out there. But I'm not going to take this thing too long. I'm going to beat it another few and then we can cut it off. The ones that can find the information and we'll share it some more accordingly.
1918, subsec. B. Act September 24, 1918, inserted provisions relating to hoarding or melting of gold or silver coin or bullion or currency, and to regulation of transactions in bonds or certificates of indebtedness. Statutory notes and related subsidiaries. Regulations. Act March 9, 1933, Chapter 1, Title I, Section 1, 48 Stat 1, provided that the actions, regulations, rules, licenses, orders and proclamations heretofore or hereafter taken, promulgated, made, or issued by the President of the United States or the Secretary of the Treasury since March 4, 1933, pursuant to the authority conferred by Subdivision B of Section 5 of the Act of October 6, 1917, as amended 50 U.S.C. 4305b, are hereby approved and confirmed.
So you see, that must be the President of the United States or the Secretary of the Treasury. This is why I was at the Treasury of the place. Yeah, man. And these information are so vital when you start break it down, because we just scratch the surface here. And only true we want catalog for our basic people. So as time move forward, them kind of information shall be out there. Where the ones them can just go look for themselves, get the document for themselves, scrutinize it for themselves, and just know, say, yeah, improvement, knowledge abound. And this thing you talk about all of the financial structure, all of the implementation, because this is where it originates from. However, them not highlight the 1913 Labor Department of Labor Act. Because that was before all of these things. The politics here, that's the item. Because one time the Republican, them is the people, and would have said them attack for this kind of people. Because them have to secure for them little industry what them have. And the Democrat was the one them we are saying enslave them. Now you have the majority of the Democratic with the people. Them I say it's silly. That's why we don't get involved in politics. We have to look so we can learn. And it's only, shuttle or lead. This is why I tell people, say, stand up as I, free man. You don't need no leader. You look in the mirror for your leader. Don't let no man tell you where God is. You look into the mirror and you'll see the image of your God. This is how simple I man keep it. But them kind of simplicity can be problematic. Why? Because good and evil out there, man. And the balance that. I man now go just be good. Cause what, how me go compare whether I'm good or not. You have to look out there and see some ones where I move outside of I moral integrity or even I order or discipline what I set for I self. And can say, oh, them man they move different. This is what it is. Yeah, man, it's not about the I know this or I know that. Then if me know all of these things and keep it to myself, then wait a profit I. And that's the issue where some people go into some secret societies and then demonstrate that and then say it publicly. And they might learn some subtle tricks. But some of them have some kind of oath where them can only play games and placate the people. That's why they are there. That's why they are there. Yeah, man. They are the obstacle to the free dominion, and the free domain with the free expression of our people. And these very agents look just like us. They are propped up in front of us. And sold a lot of our people down one of those illusionary, rivers. However, information share, trading with the enemy, 6 October 1917. Yeah, man, amended in a March 1933. Yeah, man, March 4th, March 9th, come all the way down. And it changed the societal structure and the way our people do business. Change it. There's no substance out there, it's only paper. It's all negotiations. It's negotiable instruments. So each one teach one, people. Just don't allow yourself to be misled